Have you ever been on a dance floor, feeling like you've got two left feet, totally unable to catch the beat? Well, you might think it's just you, but the real story is so much bigger. It stretches all the way from ancient history, right down to the words you speak every single day. All right, let's get into it.
So picture this, you're at a party, the music's great, everyone's moving, but you just can't lock in. It feels awkward, right? You're always a half step behind, and you just end up thinking, man, I have zero rhythm. It's such a common feeling, but what if I told you it's not actually your fault?
Seriously, the whole idea behind this explainer is that for a whole lot of people, especially in Japan, struggling with complex rhythms isn't a personal failure. Nope. It's the result of this incredible mix of national history, government policy, and get this, the basic way your language has wired your brain to hear sound.
Okay, so let's treat this like we're solving a puzzle, the modern rhythm puzzle. Why does this feeling of being rhythmically challenged seem to pop up so much in certain cultures? And we're not talking about professional dancers here, just the average person trying to feel the music.
So what the research shows is that this is a structural thing, not an individual one. It's this shared cultural experience that has really deep roots in history and language, which means the first clue isn't on the dance floor at all. It's hidden in the history books.
You know, to really get what's happening today, we've got to rewind the clock. Way back, Japan had this really fascinating split musical world. There wasn't just one kind of music for everybody. There were two completely separate soundtracks for totally different people and for totally different reasons.
And here's that split, plain and simple. On one hand, you had Gagaku music for the imperial court and the elite. It was super refined, orchestral, something you sat still and listened to. But for everybody else, there was Matsuri-bayashi, the festival music. It was all about percussion, about participation, and that's the key. One was for watching, and the other was for doing.
So for centuries, you've got these two musical worlds living side by side. But then, everything changed. A huge political shift happened that basically rewired the entire country's relationship with music, and more importantly, with rhythm itself.
So let's look at how this all went down. Before 1868, everything's coexisting. Then, the Meiji Restoration happens, and the government makes this massive decision. They decide that Western classical music is going to be the new standard for all education. And just like that, the folk music, the rhythmic, participatory, body-based music of the people gets shoved aside. It was even called vulgar music and completely stripped out of schools.
And this quote just nails the consequence. The entire way of learning rhythm through your body, through festivals, through community, was swapped out for a system of just reading notes on a page. That physical connection between moving and music, it was broken on a national level. But that's just one piece of the puzzle. The other piece goes even deeper.
So what if the language you speak every single day is actually programming your brain to hear rhythm in a very specific way? This is where things get really cool, and we dive into linguistics and neuroscience.
Okay, so Japanese is what's known as a Mora-timed language. The easiest way to think about it is that every syllable, like ka, shi, to, takes up almost the exact same amount of time. It's very even, very consistent. Kind of like a string of perfectly identical pearls. It gives the language a super steady, predictable beat.
Now compare that to a stressed timed language like English. We don't do that at all. We keep the timing between our stressed syllables regular, and then we just squish all the unstressed syllables in between. It sounds more like da 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 da. So instead of uniform pearls, our rhythm is more like a chain of big and small beads all mixed together. It's naturally more complex.
And here's the kicker. This difference in language literally shows up in brain scans. Studies have found that the brains of Japanese speakers are highly tuned to process that single, constant beat of their language. But the brains of English or French speakers, they light up in response to lots of different, varied rhythms. So if your brain is wired for those even pearls, it can have a much harder time processing the complex, offbeat syncopations you hear in so much popular music.
And if you want to see a completely different approach, just look at many traditional African cultures. There, the connection between language, rhythm, and your body is totally seamless. Music isn't separate, it's communal, it's participatory, and rhythm is learned physically, just as part of life. It's the exact opposite of the path modern Japanese education took, where that link was cut and music became a purely theoretical subject.
All right, so let's put all the pieces of our puzzle together. That feeling on the dance floor isn't about just one thing. It's more like a four-part story, a chain reaction through time.
So step 1, you start with a language that wires the brain for even, predictable beats. Step 2, A major historical event comes along and gets rid of the very cultural practices, the folk music, that taught complex physical rhythm. Step 3, this leads to a cultural disconnection, where learning rhythm with your body is lost from the education system. And step 4, the modern result? A widespread societal challenge with feeling and moving to those complex offbeat rhythms.
And that brings us right back to the beginning. That awkward feeling on the dance floor? It's not a personal failing. It's not because you're a bad dancer. It's a historical echo. It's the ghost of a government policy and a whisper from the very language you grew up with. It completely reframes that insecurity, doesn't it?
I mean, this whole thing just goes to show how deeply culture can shape something as primal as our sense of rhythm. And it really leaves you with a big question to chew on. If we know that history and language created this reality, what does that mean for the future? Can new connections be built?